Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpener. So I wanted to share this interesting project with you. So this is a knife that belonged to a woman's father. Her daughter became a chef. Her grandfather was a chef from Colombia, and her daughter wanted all of his knives. And she took all of his knives, and this one, as you can see, was not in very good shape. It has literally come apart and is missing a huge section of it. She doesn't want a new handle put on. The daughter would like as much of the original handle as if we can keep it as possible, and just a repair made. So it's a really interesting color. It's kind of a, if you look inside, you can see it's a burgundy kind of inside, but on the outside it looks a little more brown, probably just from over the years of fading. So I'm going to see if I can make an epoxy to match that as close as possible and start filling this and then shaping it again and see if we can make it look acceptable. It's going to be tough, as you can see, because there are a lot. Let me show you the bottom of this. It's been repaired before. I think the grandfather or somebody used like a Gorilla Glue or something on there. There was a lot of like foamy, almost looked like insulation stuff I had to take out. And there's some what appears to be some old epoxy. So you can see we definitely have some cracks there. I'm going to try and get as much of that off as I can before I start filling it. But I'm not going to go too crazy on it because I just don't want the whole thing to fall apart. Because if we can build like pretty much like a cast around it with some good epoxy, we should be able to make a pretty solid repair of that. So, but I think it's kind of cool that she wants to keep it as original as possible. She didn't want a new handle put on there. We'll see how it goes. I will keep you posted and show you some of the steps along the way of what I do and see how it turns out. Now, if it ends up being a complete fail, we have talked about just doing a handle replacement. But since that wasn't what she wanted, we're going to try and do it and keep as much of this original handle as possible. So I'm going to use my Foredom tool and just do some general cleaning up here. See what I can get off without hopefully going too deep. I want to get all this old epoxy off if I can, even if I got to repolish. I'm really curious to see how if that'll polish up again with the dental abrasives. Once I get all that nasty old epoxy off. I don't want to go too deep though. I don't want it to start crumbling and just falling apart if it's holding it together. As you can see, there was a big repair here. This whole chunk's kind of being held together pretty well. So I think I'll just polish that and see if I can kind of smooth it out. You can see I got most of that glue off. This is a pretty aggressive for a dental bracelet. This is an 80 grit, but it might just be what this needs to kind of clean this outside up. Yeah, it's doing a pretty good job. You can see it's actually starting to repolish it a little bit. We're seeing some of that original color shine through. Clean all that rust off of the tang if I can. At least a good portion of it. Yeah, there we go. Got all that out. So hopefully we can get a nice... Whew. This must have loosened up. Wow. Yeah, you can see we got all that old glue off. I mean, it ain't perfect, but that's 80 grit. I think if we hit it with a 220... Yeah, not bad. So that's starting to clean up pretty good. So I think if we can make a nice resin match this, maybe with some brown, maybe a little purple mixed of some resin dye colors to mix into that resin, see if we can get something that will match this burgundy brown looking handle. We should be pretty good. So here's my blade bond, and this is just a equal mixture, and we're just going to go to 5 mLs. We're at 2.5. All right, we're going to mix that up. I think we'll start with a little purple. You can see how quick. Doesn't take much, right? We are super purpley. I'm going to add a little red. We have red, orange, and we have red. And this thing looks almost brown now too, so I could probably get away with brown. Oh, we're getting there. We're almost a burgundy, but it's a way brighter burgundy than what I had here. We didn't do our blue though yet, right? Yeah, we didn't do blue. Let's do a drop of blue. All right, there's our blue. So now we should be getting close to some sort of burgundy color. That is going to get us pretty close. That is kind of a burgundy brown. Yeah, that's working. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, a lot of times what I'll do is just take tape and kind of tape off the sides so that we make a kind of a cavity in here so I can fill the top in. And I think I'm going to use a blade bond, which I use for making knives, because I don't want to even go with any I definitely want to go with a knife maker's resin to hold this together. So I think that's what I'm going to do right here, is going to be blade bond, which is a 2-part epoxy. Gives me a good bit of work time, but we should be able to get a nice pour in there, at least get a foundation started to start doing this repair. Okay, so I did my pour into there. I think we matched the color pretty darn good. It's pretty close. You can see I got the tape down there, and this is just the first layer. So the next time I'll build my little wall up a little bit higher, so that I can work that top down. But I only want to go so high on this first pour, and then the next time around I'll probably go a little higher with it, and then so I got more there to shape with. I was considering trying to put another piece of tape on there, but I think we'll just do it in multiple pours. So far, pretty happy with it. Looks like it's gonna be a pretty decent color match. We just gotta wait for that to dry, so we'll see how it is tomorrow. All right, so I'm gonna start peeling some of the tape off, see how it came out. Sometimes it will stick a little bit to the epoxy. This is painter's tape, but it usually comes off pretty good, I've found. Every once in a while there might be a little that I might have to grind away with something where it really bonds well with the epoxy. That's why I sometimes use silicone, but this one looks like it did a pretty good job of not sticking. We already now have at least a usable knife again. This blade bond is super strong. So you can see, I mean, it totally rebonded that, and that looks really good. So now it's just a matter of like shaping and repolishing, but I still need to add more to the top here because I want to, you know, kind of make it nice again. So we're going to kind of round that off. I'm going to see if I can mix up another batch of epoxy and get close to the same color. And but that's coming really good. And so yeah, so now it's just going to be just to raise up enough lift there so that I can shape this with the sander, and then we will rebuff and polish this and go from there. But that is 100% stronger and bonded well. The blade bond did exactly what I wanted to do. It's a great epoxy for knives, and that is its purpose. Okay, so here's a little trick that I use to do the top part of the fill. I like to take a silicone sleeve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the top of this sleeve off, but I'm going to line up on the area that I need to do, and I'm going to mark right where it is so that I kind of know what I want to cut out. And then I'm just going to get a pair of scissors and raise that level up. And the silicone's nice because the epoxy won't stick to it. So I'm going to do the best I can here to make sure it's in the right place. There we go. So you can see that. And that's going to be my mold to do the top half of this correction. All right, so the second pour is complete. You can see I purposely filled it a little higher and a little more than it actually needs. I want to make sure that, you know, it's got a bit of a convex top to it so that I can sand it down to where I want it. I grabbed my mask. As you guys know probably all too well by now, I love my belt splitter and using split down belts to custom size. I'm going to take off my angle guide. I don't need that, and I am going to use a old Cubitron belt that's split down to begin shaping this plastic handle again. All right, so I'm just going to put on my mask so I don't want to breathe the epoxy dust. Okay, so now that I got the majority of the extra off, I'm going to do the rest of the shaping on my Foredom tool. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a little 400 grit sandpaper and do some shaping by hand. Correction, this is 150. All right, so I'm fairly happy with the shape here. I have a little tiny pocket here that I might have to fill in with some clear, but I'm gonna clean this off a little bit, and now I'm gonna start just hitting it with some dental abrasives and see how things go from there. Okay, so it's going pretty well. The only thing I'm unhappy with, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to touch it up, is I had one little air pocket back here and a couple little tiny air holes here that, just unfortunately happened with the epoxy. I didn't hit it with any heat while it was dry, and I probably should have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with clear UV epoxy and try and get those little holes filled in.